Welcome to U.S. Briefing. The content of the briefing includes: massive NYC landfill-to-park project hits a milestone, first section opens to the public. Israel will destroy Lebanon if war spreads. Jones and Stewart help Liberty avoid sweep, take Game 3 of WNBA Finals, beat Aces 87-73. FBI tracks increased threats to Jews and Muslims after Hamas attack. Number of Canadians killed in Israel climbs to 5. Massive NYC landfill-to-park project hits a milestone, first section opens to the public. The Toronto Star. The first section of Fresh Kills Park, a former landfill site in New York, has opened to the public. The 21-acre North Park area includes pedestrian and cycling paths, a bird viewing tower, an overlook deck and a composting restroom. Fresh Kills Landfill was the world's largest landfill site, but closed in 2001 after 5 decades of use. Efforts to turn the site into a public park began in 2008 and are expected to be completed in 2036. The project aims to serve as a model for land reuse projects around the world. Israel will destroy Lebanon if war spreads. Telegraph. Israeli jets have started bombing in Lebanon as the Israel Defense Forces, IDF, warned it would destroy the country if Hezbollah entered the war. The air raids came as the United States and the UK expressed fears that Israel's war with Hamas could escalate into a conflict involving the wider Middle East. The Israeli strikes were carried out after anti-tank rockets fired by Hezbollah killed one person in northern Israel, in the most serious clashes outside of Gaza since the war began. Tzachi Hanegbi, an Israeli national security advisor, warned the Iran-sponsored terrorist group not to start a war on a second front, threatening the destruction of Lebanon if it did. Western nations have warned against any escalation in the conflict and have moved to try and prevent it spilling outwards, potentially drawing in Iran, with the U.S. ordering a second aircraft carrier strike group to the region over the weekend. Jones and Stewart help Liberty avoid sweep, take Game 3 of WNBA Finals, beat Aces 87-73. The Toronto Star. The New York Liberty defeated the Las Vegas Aces 87-73 in Game 3 of the WNBA Finals, forcing a Game 4 in the best-of-5 series. Jonquil Jones led the Liberty with 27 points, hitting 4 of the team's 13 three-pointers. The Liberty led by 3 at halftime and extended their lead in the third quarter to take a double-digit lead. Kelsey Plum scored 29 points for the Aces, who are still up 2-1 in the series. Game 4 will take place on Wednesday night in New York. FBI tracks increased threats to Jews and Muslims after Hamas attack. New York Times. The FBI has reported an increase in threats against both Jewish and Muslim Americans following the recent Hamas attack. FBI Director Christopher A. Wray stated that the attack could inspire violence in the U.S. The threat is believed to come from lone actors who are often difficult to detect as they are typically not known to law enforcement officials in advance. While there is no evidence that Hamas is directing attacks in the U.S., Wray stated that it is possible. The FBI is reaching out to faith leaders to discuss potential threats against their communities and has asked local law enforcement to take additional measures to protect Jewish and Muslim religious facilities. The FBI has reported a high number of anti-Semitic threats in recent months, but the October 7 attack has resulted in even more. The officials did not provide specific numbers but stated that many of the threats were made online and turned out to be not credible. Number of Canadians killed in Israel climbs to 5. The Globe and Mail. The number of Canadians killed during the Hamas attack on Israel last weekend has now risen to 5 people, government officials said at a news conference on Sunday in Ottawa. The federal government has not released the names of any of the Canadians who were victims of the October 7 attack due to privacy concerns. 3 other Canadians are still missing. Monday briefing, a race to ease the Gaza crisis. New York Times. Diplomats from the U.S., Egypt and other Middle Eastern countries are currently in talks to help ease the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. With clashes at Israel's border with Lebanon and Israeli airstrikes in Syria, there are fears of a wider conflict in the region. Yesterday, Israel's military gave residents of Gaza a 3-hour midday window to leave via a main highway, but Gaza's health ministry refused to evacuate hospitals. Reports suggest that over the past week, at least 2,670 people in Gaza have been killed. Almost half of Gaza's population of over 2 million people have already been displaced and are facing dwindling supplies of food and water. The new Israeli government is now holding its first formal meeting, amid a breakdown in trust between the citizens and the state. New Zealand has voted in the country's most right-wing government in a generation, with cost of living being the primary concern driving their vote. In Australia, the country voted no on a referendum that would have given Indigenous Australians a voice in Parliament in the form of an advisory body. A song for every year since Stonewall, the queer musical extravaganza premiering at Sydney Opera House. ABC. American playwright, drag artist, and theater maker Taylor Mack is premiering a new show, Bark of Millions, as part of the Sydney Opera House's 50th birthday celebrations. The show explores the historical deficit of queer stories and features 55 original songs, each inspired by a different queer person from world history. Mack collaborated with Obie award-winning composer Matt Ray to create the songs, which will be performed by Mack and an ensemble of 21 queer performers from around the world. The show aims to be an exploration of queerness rather than a definition of it. Mack wants the show to be inclusive and aims to create a collective experience and expression. While centered on queer experience, the show is open to everyone, with the invitation extending to heterosexual individuals as well. Mack describes the show as a reverse conversion therapy, where experiencing queerness and breaking away from societal norms can be liberating for all individuals. Gaza explained, what to know about the enclave. CNN. As Israel prepares for a ground offensive into Gaza, here's what you need to know about the 140-square-mile enclave, one of the most densely populated territories on Earth. Gaza is a narrow strip of land, only about 25 miles long and 7 miles wide, just over twice the size of Washington, D.C. To its west lies the Mediterranean Sea, to its north and east is Israel, and Egypt is to its south. It is one of two Palestinian territories, the other being the larger Israeli-occupied West Bank, which borders Jordan. Around 2 million people are crammed into the 140-square-mile territory. The overwhelming majority of people are young, with 50% of the population under the age of 18, according to the World Health Organization. Nearly all of Gazans, 98 to 99%, are Muslim, according to the CIA World Fact Book, with most of the rest Christians. More than 1 million of Gaza's residents are refugees, with 8 recognized Palestinian refugee camps, according to the United Nations Relief and Works Agency, which assists Palestinians. Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Six from the 6 Dimensions, here to bring you another edition of the 6 Degrees Briefing. Today, we have a mix of news from around the world, including the opening of a park in New York, escalating tensions in the Middle East, an exciting WNBA game, threats against Jewish and Muslim communities, and the ongoing crisis in Gaza. Let's dive in. First up, the Fresh Kills Park in New York has reached a milestone with the opening of its first section to the public. This former landfill site is being transformed into a 2,200-acre park and aims to be a model for land reuse projects worldwide. So, if you're in the area, go check it out and enjoy some cycling paths and bird watching. Moving on, tensions in the Middle East continue to rise as Israeli jets bomb Lebanon and the Israel Defense Forces warn of further destruction if Hezbollah enters the war. Western nations are concerned about the conflict escalating and have taken steps to prevent it from spreading. It's a tense situation, to say the least. On a lighter note, the New York Liberty won Game 3 of the WNBA Finals, forcing a Game 4 in the series. Jonquil Jones led the team with an impressive 27 points, helping them avoid a sweep. Game 4 will take place on Wednesday, so let's see if the Liberty can keep the momentum going. Unfortunately, threats against Jewish and Muslim Americans have increased following the recent Hamas attack. The FBI is working to address these threats and protect religious facilities. It's important for communities to come together and support one another during these challenging times. In more somber news, the number of Canadians killed in the Hamas attack on Israel has risen to 5, with 3 others still missing. Our thoughts go out to their loved ones during this difficult time. Turning to the ongoing crisis in Gaza, diplomats are working to ease the humanitarian situation in the region, as clashes at Israel's border with Lebanon and Israeli airstrikes in Syria raise fears of a wider conflict. The situation is dire, with thousands of people killed and many more displaced. Let's hope for a swift resolution and a return to peace. Lastly, for all the music lovers out there, American playwright Taylor Mack is premiering a new show at the Sydney Opera House. Bark of Millions explores queer history through 55 original songs inspired by queer individuals from around the world. It's an inclusive show that invites everyone to experience and celebrate queerness. That's all for today's briefing. Remember, your thoughts and questions are always welcome. So, what do you think about these news stories? I'm curious to hear your perspectives. Until next time, stay informed and stay curious. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.